Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I'm FDLE Commissioner Mark Glass, and it's my honor to host today's events. Please join me in standing to welcome the 5 honorees in this year's Florida Law Enforcement Hall of Fame ceremony. And please remain standing for the presentation of colors by the Combined Color Guard team from Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services, Capitol Police, Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission, and the Florida Highway Patrol, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance and invocation. Colors. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please remain standing as Stacy Lehman will be leading us in the invocation. Stacy. Mr. Lehman is well known in the law enforcement community as FDLE's Florida Law Enforcement Accreditation Director. We are privileged to have him here today. Stacy.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, it's just so good any day that we can get up and have the breath of life and be able to go about our day and do the things that you lay before us. And we just especially are grateful for this day where we honor these 5 men who have given so much of their lives to their communities and to their state to keep us safe. And we thank you so much for their families and what they have meant to their families and the time and worry and effort their families have placed into these careers. And we just thank you so much for them as well. And Father, we think of this week especially as we've come to the conclusion of Police Week, and we think of those officers and deputies out there who have laid down their life to protect their communities, to protect us all. We thank you for that sacrifice, and we pray a special comfort on their families. Just ask that your hand be with us today during these ceremonies, and we thank you so much and praise you and glorify your name. And it's in Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Please be seated. Hall of Fame inductees, friends, family, and distinguished guests. We welcome you to the 2024 Florida Law Enforcement Officers Hall of Fame induction ceremony. This year we're here at FDLE headquarters. There's a lot of construction going on at the Capitol, so I hope the families got to go see where you're be memorialized on the wall of the Capitol. So I hope that was able to do that. If you didn't able to get that, or if you want to go back, please get with myself or Colonel Montgomery, and we can make another trip back out there should you want to see that again today. We have many distinguished guests in here. We have constitutional officers. We have people, directors that are all around, chiefs of police. But one of the most distinguished guests that we have are the spouses of our law enforcement officers. If you are a spouse of a law enforcement officer, or former law enforcement officer, or retired law enforcement officer in this room, would you please stand? Thank you so much. And it's wonderful to see everyone here and see so many of you honor these 5 outstanding individuals. I would like to invite any former Hall of Fame inductees to please stand. Do we have any? Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you all for being here also. Now, we always say we just have a Law Enforcement Memorial Week and Law Enforcement Week. In John 15:13, greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. Every law enforcement officer stands up and swears an oath, knowing that that may be what they have to do. In a world that we have today, there are people here and amongst us that don't necessarily honor that. But our law enforcement officers who give that oath give it freely. They're willing to sacrifice and pay the ultimate sacrifice for others. And that's one of the greatest honors you can do for your fellow man. It's in the scriptures. But here today, with our law enforcement Hall of Fame members and former, you're getting picked. You were presented and picked to be from your body of work in criminal justice. Your body of work is long lasting. You have touched so many lives, and that truly is an honor also. You didn't ask for this, but when you took that oath, you knew you may have to do that same thing, to lay your life down for others. But you have trailblazed criminal justice. You have left a lasting legacy for us to follow. I come from a long line of law enforcement officers, and my son has now entered the profession. And I am humbled and honored to be here today to recognize you and your accomplishments. And I just want you to know that from me. The Florida Law Enforcement Officer Hall of Fame was created by the 2014 Florida legislature to recognize and honor law enforcement officers who put their lives on the line for the safety and protection of Florida citizens and visitors through their works, service, and exemplary accomplishments. Last summer, the department accepted 8 nominations from the Florida Sheriff's Association, Florida Police Chief Association, Police Benevolence Association, y'all got my words get tied up here, Fraternal Order of Police, and the State Law Enforcement Chiefs Association. The 2024 nominees were voted upon by representatives from each of these entities. They were then approved by the governor and cabinet on March 26 of 2024. I'd like to thank the following representatives for each association who served as selection committee members: Captain Rachel Bryant, Matt Dunnigan, Robert Jenkins, Jennifer Pritt, and Stedman Stahl. I'd also like to thank those FDLA members who played such an integral role in this process, beginning with the nominations, organizing the ceremony, and working with our inductees and their families. And I hope that was a good experience for you guys. These 5 honorees have combined more than 188 years of law enforcement service. I can't even imagine that, but 188, that's a lot. They represent diverse backgrounds in local law enforcement services, and you'll hear more about each of them today as they have had a very different career. But what you will hear again and again is their character, their leadership, their service to their organizations, and the law enforcement community. These things are what set these men apart from others. They're visionaries, they were champions, and that's why we're honoring you today. So again, thank you for everything you were able to do. Our first 2024 inductee is Mark Bohne. Mark began his career with the Riviera Beach Police Department in 1974. 3 weeks into service, his field training officer was killed in the line of duty. For many, this would be a career ender. However, Sergeant Bohne continued and joined the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office in 1983. In 1986, he was confronted by an armed suspect and sustained 5 gunshot wounds. Sergeant Bohne pursued the suspect until he realized the extent of his injuries. During his recovery, dairy farmer Billy Bowman offered to assist with his finances. Approximately 1 year later, another Palm Beach Sheriff's Office deputy was seriously injured in the line of duty, and Mark and Billy did a fundraiser for that officer. They went on to create a nonprofit charity called the Law Enforcement Assistance Foundation, or LEAF. Its primary mission is to provide financial assistance to law enforcement officers who are seriously injured or have suffered a catastrophic event as well as support the families of officers killed in the line of duty. Since its inception, LEAF has distributed over $1 million to the families of fellow law enforcement officers. In 2009, Sergeant Bohne was recognized as the Palm Beach County Community Leader of the Year, and he proudly served with PBSO until 2010. During his service, he received numerous accolades, including many Palm Beach Sheriff's Office Officer of the Month awards. Sergeant Bohne, lifetime dedication and determination of selfless service towards his county and fellow officers demonstrates the hallmarks of a true law enforcement professional. Sir, I'd like to invite you up to the stage.
I'm not much speaking. I wear these glasses because I have a torn retina and I can't see with them and I can't see without them. But anyway, 3 months into my service at Riviera Beach, my field training officer, Meredith Skip Runk, was killed in the line of duty. He dropped me off at the police station because the dispatcher, one of the dispatchers, got sick and I had to answer the phones so we could dispatch calls. While answering the phones, I received a call from a lady screaming that a police officer had been shot, send help. And I realized right away that it was my FTO. So I'm going to, I want to dedicate this happening here today to the memory of Meredith Skip Bronk, who was my FTO. In 1986, I was working at the sheriff's office and I was shot 5 times and survived. I chased the guy and I'm trying to really reload my gun and my arm's not working because I'm left-handed and I got shot with a .45 right in the arm up here. So I realized I got to stop and get some help. So I waited there and they took care of me. And my buddy was the pilot for the aviation unit, and he knew of this guy, Billy Bowman, who owned the biggest dairy farm in South Florida. And Billy wanted to come and help me out and my family. And so he came and did a fundraiser for me. And then a year later, we had a deputy out in Belle Glade, Bill Timpson, and he was shot 5 times. And we did a fundraiser for him. And we got together with Billy and said, you know, Billy, we really should start some sort of organization so that we don't have to start from 0 cents and build money up for these guys when they get injured. So we started LEAF, and we've been doing LEAF since 1987, and we've given over $1 million out to officers and families of officers. We average about $80,000 a year that we give out, and anybody that carries a gun in Palm Beach County, and we had so much money that we decided we needed to give out more, so we even include school crossing guards that are doing a police function by crossing kids across the street, and if they get hit, and we've helped a couple of them out. So we've got a great organization. We got $2.5 million in the bank, and we're going to continue helping officers and their families. And with that, I'd like to thank Commissioner Glass for having us here today. And thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Now, usually when we do this, it's always at the end where we have everybody come up. I'm going off script because I want you to understand what it is to have a family support. If we do not have family support in this role that we are as law enforcement officers, it's very difficult. They're the ones who keep the train on time at the house. They're the one that keeps us going when we have a hard day. They're the ones that we need, our family around us. So that's the reason why I'm going off script on this one, because I want everyone here to recognize the family that's here with them and the support mechanism they have. So I want to say thank you again, ma'am. Our next inductee is Michael Joyner, represented by his son, Michael Joyner Jr. Michael Joyner began his law enforcement career with the Monticello Police Department in August of 1973. I was 3 years old, thanks. I feel so young today. This is awesome. In January of 1974, he was hired by the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office. During his 12 years working for Jefferson County, Joyner saved the lives of 4 individuals in 3 separate incidents. In 1986, Citrus County Sheriff Charlie Dean hired Joyner to work in a long-term undercover operation that lasted 18 months. The intense operation infiltrated 3 drug smuggling rings and uncovered a mafia-owned nightclub in Citrus County. The operation resulted in 72 indictments and convictions. At the conclusion of that operation, Joyner was awarded the Medal of Distinction. Under Sheriff Joyner was an incredibly talented undercover officer. While working undercover, he was placed in prisons and jails, multiple states, and he played a major role in solving several homicides. Could you imagine that, having to do undercover in the prison? So, I mean, it's amazing. His most notable undercover case was the capture and conviction of a notorious female serial killer, Aileen Wuornos. Wuornos was a nationally known murderer who was convicted of killing 7 people in Florida between 1989 and 1990. In 2005, Joyner retired with 32 years of dedicated service. Throughout his career, Under Sheriff Joyner received numerous awards and is one of the only 4 lifetime members of the Florida Intelligence Unit. In 1993, he received the Narcotics Officer of the Year Award, and he received several commendations from the United States Drug Enforcement Administration, the United States Marshal Service, and the United States Customs Service. In 2018, the Florida Intelligence Unit created the Mike Joyner Law Enforcement Officer of the Year Award, which recognizes an officer's contribution and outstanding services. Junior, you ready to come up? Come on up. I'd like to invite Michael Joyner Jr. Lefty.
I've had to do this once before, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm hoping today is going to be a lot easier than the first time I've had to speak on behalf of my father. I spoke at his funeral, and I thought, what would Dad say today? And I know how thankful and grateful he would be. So I'm going to start off by just saying thank you for everyone that came here today and took time off from work, made the trip up here. He would be so honored and so proud. Thank you to the Florida Law Enforcement Hall of Fame panel. I can't imagine having to narrow down 5 recipients out of so many deserving candidates. I'd also like to thank the staff, FDLEA staff, that made us feel like rock stars today. They gave us first class treatment. Miss Rebecca Baker, are you in here? Miss Rebecca, I'm going to give you a shout out. Trying to get a bunch of joiners together is like herding cats. You did a fantastic job, ma'am. Thank you so much. Miss Shannon Wright. Ms. Shannon started this process by putting the application together along with a book of all Dad's awards and accomplishments. How time-consuming that must have been for her. Thank you to retired Sheriff and retired Florida State Senators Charlie Dean for approving and submitting the application process. And thank you to Sheriff McCallum. Sheriff Bobby, thank you so much, sir, for following up with the application and nominating Dad. A great honor. Thank you, sir. Thank you to Levy County Commissioners Matt Brooks and John Meeks for being here today, guys. After Dad retired from law enforcement, he was appointed to county commissioner and then was reelected several times. And he loved being a county commissioner. He loved Levy County, and he loved working with y'all. He would be so proud that y'all made the trip up here today. Thank you. Thank you to Mr. Butch Doyle, Farnell Cole. Guys, thank y'all so much for coming. Mr. Butch and Farnell served with Dad on the Florida Intelligence Unit, and hey, Dad loved going to FIU conferences. He had so much fun, and he would be just so honored that y'all are here today. He loved y'all very much. I'm sure I've missed a bunch of other people in this room, and I'm sorry. There's just so many people here today. I could be here, and I'm sure Commissioner Glass would run me off the stage if I started pointing out everybody. So, but lastly, his family. Dad loved his family so much. His brothers are here today, my Uncle Bubba. And his family, they all come up here today. Uncle Skeet, Daddy's younger brother, and his family. But just to let the rest of y'all know in this room, when you get them three brothers together, it's they'll either make you laugh till you cry or you want to kill all three of them. And if those of y'all that know them, you know I'm speaking the truth. But all jokes aside, Daddy loved his brothers with all his heart, and he would have dropped everything in a second when they needed him. His grandbabies, oh my goodness, how that man loved his grandbabies, Peyton, April, Taylor, and Amanda. All of them have got some crazy stories about their pawpaw. When school was out for the summer, they had to stay at Nini's house, and they attended Pawpaw's summer school. And that included everything from picking up sticks to pulling soda apples to opening up gates and anything else you could think of. Let's just say that those four girls were looking forward to school starting in August. I'll tell you a quick story, and I know I don't have much time, and I apologize, but it was about a year after Daddy had passed, and a year before Daddy had passed, we noticed a big, large dent on the back of Mama's SUV, her Yukon. And Mom got mad. She was frustrated. She couldn't figure out how in the world that dent got in the back of her SUV. She figured that, somebody had just backed into her at the grocery store parking lot or whatever, and kind of just, wrote it off. Well, shortly after Dad's funeral, April, my sister, my oldest niece, let us know that she was riding around with Dad on the Kubota side-by-side, the little UTV, and he got a phone call. Well, when Dad got a phone call, everything else stopped. He picked up the phone, and the Kubota just rolled right back in and hit the back of Mama's SUV. And he made April promise that she wouldn't tell anybody how that dent got in that bumper. And she kept that promise for over a year. And another one that Dad had a big brush pile at the house, and it was way too big for him to be burning, but those of y'all that knew Dad, that's the way he operated. And he'd set this thing on fire, and he had it way too close to a big old live oak tree and caught the whole live oak tree on fire. And Taylor, my daughter, was just barely old enough to touch the gas and the brake on the little UTV, and April was there with her, and she was even smaller. Well, this was in a 30, 40 acre cow pasture, and he had them running back and forth across the cow pasture, filling up 5-gallon buckets full of water, trying to put this big old oak tree out. So, and there's so many other stories that just probably shouldn't be told in this room today, if y'all know Mike Joyner. So, but, when I was asked to speak here today on behalf of my father, I started thinking about his life, his career, his family, and what he would say. Dad started in 1973, and that's the same year that he married the love of his wife, my mother, Diane. Together they raised 2 children, myself and my sister Jennifer. Being a police officer's wife is never easy, especially being the wife of an undercover officer. A husband that went undercover in the most dangerous of situations, as Dad did, away from home, away from his wife, away from his family. Many times neither of them knew when he would be home again. I remember hearing Mom tell me one time, and Dad was working a deep undercover op. He missed us so much that he stuck out one night just to come home and eat supper with us. Dad had said countless times over the years that he would never made it through his career if it wasn't for his faith in the good Lord and his wife, my mom. Dad couldn't do what he did without knowing that his kids were taken care of. And my mother gave him that assurance that his kids were okay. I can't summarize Dad's life in a 5-minute speech. When I was asked to speak at Dad's funeral, I had to try to figure out how to honor my friend, my hero, and most importantly, my father. Two words kept landing on my heart and popping up in conversation that week: fearless and legendary. When we knew Dad was close to leaving, I had a man tell me that week, you can't live as fearlessly as Mike Joyner did without knowing what's next. Dad knew what the Lord's plan for him was, his God-given talent, if you will. And he was fearless because he knew what was next. You've heard about all the undercover stories and the prisons and jails that he went into. And I remember him telling me one time that when he was housed in the same jail cell as a murder suspect, that he would always sleep underneath the bottom bunk. And for those of y'all that aren't very familiar with the jail cell, it's a very small room. It's got a set of double bunks in it and, a toilet and a sink. And when I asked him, I said, why? Why would you sleep underneath the bottom bunk? Why don't you just sleep in the bed? He said, well, I knew that if they ever found out that I was a law enforcement officer, that I would have a group coming. And he said, if I crawled underneath that bottom bunk and got in that little bitty space, only one of them at a time could get to me. And when I thought about that, wow. And I asked him, I said, he did all that for victims that he had never met, probably never even heard of their name until they asked him to go into prison or jail with this murder suspect. So why did he do it? Because the man was fearless, absolutely fearless. Just about everywhere I go in this state, I meet someone that knew my dad. Every one of them have a story that is etched in their memory, a different story. A story that if you didn't know Dad, you would question its validity. Whenever some task would seem impossible, or someone would tell Dad, I don't think that can be done, Dad had a saying that he used and that I carry and use to this day. It says, there ain't a horse that cannot be rode and a rider that can't be throwed. But knowing Dad, knowing his character, his guts, his fearlessness, that story is not only accurate, it's legendary. There are so many of those stories today told about Mike Joyner, my dad, and his legendary law enforcement career that will echo into eternity because they're just not done anymore. But I will always remember the best advice he ever gave me growing up and entering into my law enforcement career. Get back up when you get through. Don't you ever, ever quit. And most importantly, be a man. Thank y'all very much.
What a great honor it is to see family come up and do that. I mean, just to have that support mechanism for your father, that's truly amazing. And I want to say thank you to the Joyner family for all that you sacrificed with your father being gone on those long days and being away. So I want to say thank you. Okay, now our next inductee is Renee Landa. Renee began as a patrol officer for Miami Police Department in 1980, serving with them for 25 years. In total, he served the residents of South Florida for 43 years as an officer in 3 different police departments. His unselfish dedication as a crime fighter and a law enforcement leader is well known, and his legacy includes contributions to the advancement of the law enforcement field. During his service, he risked his life working as an undercover narcotics detective and a SWAT officer, and amid the cocaine wars of the 1980s and 1990s. He also worked with Special Investigations Section, Street Narcotics Unit, Special Events, Sexual Battery Unit, Planning and Research, Emergency Planner, and Terrorism Task Force. He rose through the ranks to become one of the commanders for the City of Miami Police Department's elite SWAT team. In 2005, Chief Landa joined the Key Biscayne Police Department as a major, and within 2 years was promoted to division chief. In 2010, he joined the South Miami Police Department as a major and was promoted to the chief of police in 2014. In 2014, under the watch of Chief Landa, the South Miami Police Department received initial accreditation status by the Commission on Florida Law Enforcement Accreditation. Chief Landa led the charge and set the tone for the South Miami Police Department during the COVID-19 pandemic and during the Defund the Police movement. Chief Landa became concerned with the officers' morale and ensured that all the officers stayed positive. In May of 2021, Chief Landa became the president of the Miami-Dade County Association of Chiefs of Police. Based on what he learned from the pandemic and the anti-police movements, he aimed to create an entity that could assist smaller departments with mental wellness and law enforcement's #1 asset, its personnel. Chief Landa's leadership over the years has made a great impact to the community, and he puts others before himself and is always looking for ways to better law enforcement agencies, especially in the field of officer wellness. Chief Landa, could you please come to the stage?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm a emotional guy, and I must have worked. I worked very hard to make sure that I was going to have an issue today at this podium. Then the biggest guy in the room with a cowboy hat comes up here and you kill me, man. You know, unbelievable. Jesus. I asked Michael if I could borrow his cowboy hat, so he covered my eyes. I put it on, it covered past my nose, and I said, "Man, I can't wear your hat, man, but I like the boots." I'm really amazingly humbled to be here today. This is definitely a pinnacle in my career. 43 years, a lifetime in law enforcement. I would have never, ever in my life thought that I'd be standing here before you today. And that's because of a lot of other people that are here. So before I even start, I really want to thank some important people. The Florida Law Enforcement Hall of Fame, the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, and specifically Commissioner J. Mark Glass. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not going to lie to you because I liked your belt buckle, and I'm just telling you, if I had a Fortune 500 company, I would take Rebecca Baker with me. I would make sure that I paid her enough to come. What a lady. You made my family. You made me feel incredible, ma'am, and I really appreciate what you did for me. The Florida Police Chiefs Association, with an emphasis for 2 people. Assistant Chief David De La Spriella and retired Assistant Chief Charles Nanny. Their little sneaky way of putting this all together behind my back, I really appreciate it, and I thank you very much for that. There are 2 things that I thought about as I was going to come up here, and the thing that's always hit my mind over and over again is passion, and it's passion for a job. You love it. You put everything into it. I fell in love with it in 1978 when I was going to college. And I was taking a whole bunch of criminal justice classes, and all the guys in there had their shoulder holsters on and all the guns on their belts. And I did one writing assignment, and I knew what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. I tell you that that's important because if you really, really care about that, and you just care about the profession itself, I really never worked in the 43 years that I was a police officer because I just loved my job, so it really wasn't working. I always kind of felt that I had a front row seat to the greatest show on earth, and I was there being able to watch it the whole time. The second thing that comes on is my 3 to 5. It's a known fact that in life they say that every single one of us has 3 to 5 people. 3 to 5 people that are there for you. They support you 100%. Sometimes it's just to listen. So those are definitely very, very important people. My wife, number one, thank you for supporting me and my dream, okay? I'm going to say it the right way. She doesn't like the way I say it before, but definitely, as you said, Commissioner, she supported me the whole time. And it's difficult when you're flying at 120 miles an hour with your hair on fire and somebody understands that and lets you do it. Secondly, definitely my son, who's here with his beautiful wife, and they're both here representing. Anybody who has children knows that they can take that passion and they can show you another love that's so incredible. Because at the end of the day, what is the most important thing is family, is going home to the people that care for you and love you. And he's been very important. I'm very, very happy at the man, father he's become. And I can't talk about him. Jesus. I worked on this all night, man. But what do you call it? He's always been there for me. My best friend, he went through the academy with me. He's my son's godfather. We were partners together. Just a guy that's always been there no matter what I do. He supported me 100%, and he's always been there, Louis Diasley, and with his wife, and I really appreciate you being here, buddy, and you've always been there for me, and I really appreciate it. The last guy I come up to is Rodney Napier. I'm going to call him my executive assistant. And he was just the type of person, I always told him that what we did is that I love to fly with eagles. And that guy would just take me to the heights. I turned around, and if I wanted to do something, he'd just make it even bigger and even better than I could ever do. So I really appreciate you, Rod, always being there for me. Specifically at the end of my career, we did a lot of incredible things together. It's going to hurt me a little bit, but I always knew that I run at 120 miles an hour, like they said, with your hair on fire, but this is the one and only guy in my life that runs at 140, and I always was trying to catch up to him. So he's an amazing human being, and I just appreciate he was in my life during my career. The last thing I have is I really, really appreciate this award. This has been, again, the most humbling thing in my life. Seeing my picture in the wall, I think we rocked up Rodney and we looked at it, and he looked at me and he said, I just got tears in my eyes. And I was still strong at that point, and I said I wasn't going to break, and here you go again. So I really appreciate. To the inductees that are with me today, it's an honor and pleasure for me to be with you standing here. And at the end, the last thing we've been working on is a Struggle Well program for police officers. It's kicked off into 18 different states, and I tell you that because every single person in this room, every single one of you, in your lifetime, at some point, you're going to struggle. The loss of a loved one, maybe you got a dyslexic son or whatever it may be. And I just want you to understand that, because our officers that go out and do that every single day, they live with issues like that. And they got to put on that uniform, pin on that badge, and they got to go out there and they got to do the job and handle somebody else's struggles. So I just want you to say that. I do something in my life. My wife's gotten tired of it already, but every time, and I pass this on to you, that you see an officer, don't tell them who you are. Just walk up and say, thank you for what you do, and stay safe. And that's what I leave you with today. Thank you.
Thanks,
Okay, our next inductee is Don Moreland. Don began serving his community in 1952 when he was enlisted in the United States Navy and served his nation until 1956. He began his law enforcement career immediately upon his return in 1956 with the Ocala Police Department. In 1957, he joined the Marion County Sheriff's Office and worked his way through the ranks before his election as Sheriff of Marion County. In 1972, where he served 5 consecutive terms. That's a long time. In 1993, President Bill Clinton appointed Sheriff Moreland as the United States Marshal for the Middle District of Florida, where he remained until his retirement in 2003. As sheriff, he demonstrated unsurpassed management and leadership skills that were directly responsible for the implementation of numerous programs and policies that moved the sheriff's office into the modern era of law enforcement. Sheriff Moreland has received the Distinguished Service Award for Law Enforcement, graduated from the FBI National Academy, and was appointed by the Governor Askew to the Governor's Commission on Criminal Justice and Standards and Goals and the Criminal Justice Information Systems Council. He has also served as president of the Florida Sheriff's Association and was chairman of their board of directors. He has been an invaluable asset to Marion County and the state of Florida, all of which he served with honor and distinction. Sheriff, please come to the stage.
Old age ain't for sissies. Billy Woods, who nominated me for this great honor, and I really and deeply appreciate it. My Chief Deputy, Jerry Holland, is here somewhere. The U.S. Marshal for the Middle District of Florida was here. One of my supervisors, Bob Pastula, is here. Chief McGehee, who I honor and who honored me to be included in this Wall of Honor many years ago. Lee's daddy hired me in 1957. I started off in Dawson, Georgia, a little town in southwest Georgia, January the 19th, 1935. That makes me 89. And I'm glad to be here. God has really worked his favor on me. I'm sorry my wife is deceased in 2003, but she is here. She gave me this. She prepared it, and you know where it came from? Her gold teeth in her mouth. She bought a diamond and put it in the center of it, and she reminded me she would always be there mouthing. And I can see her today. She was the greatest politician in this county, and she helped me more than anything, tremendously. In addition to my God and my Jesus Christ standing by my side, Anita's offspring is sitting out here somewhere, and over here. And my children and my grandchildren and great-grandchildren are here, and I deeply appreciate that. Charlie Dean's daughter is here. Charlie and I worked together for many years as sheriff. Unfortunately, Charlie has an incurable illness now, but he had a great effect on my life, and Shannon worked for me for several years before she went to work with the state. But I am deeply honored by being included in this Hall of Fame. When you get to be 90, you really, sincerely appreciate everything a little more because you're in the twilight years. And I am Lee McGehee, whose widow is here or was here. Somewhere in the audience was the chief of police in Ocala. He's on the Wall of Fame. And he worked with me as a 14-year-old kid with his father, who was a sheriff at the time, a crime scene photographer. And he's honored with inclusion of the wall. And I really, I've tried to hold it together, but I found that as you get older, you cry a lot. Because of flashbacks and memories, good memories, bad memories. But I really appreciate the attendance here for me today and my family, the effort, and they gave me and their mother. I knew it. I knew it would have. I'd better shut up. That's enough.
I want to say sheriff, marshal, but I really can say now Hall of Famer. So. Thank you, sir. Amen. You still got more to go, though, so we're good. Our final 2024 inductee is Daniel Smith. Daniel began his law enforcement career as a trooper in 1990 with the Florida Highway Patrol. Note that he went to the academy before I did, so age difference there. So, as a trooper, his commitment to public safety was exemplified. He earned the recognition as top DUI trooper in Florida with over 200 DUI arrests in 3 consecutive years. I'm going to tell you also, too, as a trooper, I was a trooper when he and his brother were there, and you couldn't compete with these guys. I mean, they would get out and hustle, and they would get bad guys off the street. They would save lives over and over again. So, because I looked up to you guys, I paid attention. Everybody in the troop paid attention. After joining the Coral Gables Police Department in 1996, Officer Smith continued to display professionalism, courage, and dedication. He has been called a cornerstone of the department, and his fellow officers have said that his retirement has left an irreplaceable void. Officer Smith's commitment to justice is evident in his extensive record of investigating and documenting over 2,000 cases involving DUI crashes and trials. The lives saved due to his diligence and expertise cannot be quantified, and the families spared from anguish of losing a loved one due to his efforts are testament to his immeasurable impact. Tragically, Officer Smith knows the heartache of losing a family member to drunk drivers firsthand. His brother, Trooper Robert Smith, was killed by a drunk driver in 1997. In 2014, Officer Smith received the Robert DeCourte Memorial Award, which is the highest accolade bestowed upon any officer at the city of Coral Gables. Officer Daniel Smith embodies the qualities that this award represents: courage, dedication, and devotion to duty. He served as a field training officer for over 23 years, which allowed him to provide his hands-on training to a significant portion of the Coral Gables Police Department. An officer who once worked with Danny said that Officer Smith can be counted on to teach, mentor, and evaluate at the highest standard. He is always there for others and sacrifices himself to better those around him. His dedication to public safety, mentorship, and community service embodies the highest standards of the profession and leaves a lasting legacy that will continue to inspire generations to come. Daniel, come on up. Yes, sir.
Well, I was given 3 to 5 minutes to speak, and in February of 2023, I was at my retirement ceremony with a dear friend, Kelly Dunham, who I had the pleasure of retiring with. Chief Hudak came up to the stage and informed us that he was going to be a committee member of the World Cup that is coming to Miami. And they presented him with a red and a green card from the Soccer Federation. Chief, if I talk too long, hold up that red card. Got it? Today's a special day. To be here with the inductees, I'm honored and I am humbled to be a part of a group of men that are being honored here today. But it's also special today because today is my mother's 84th birthday. Happy birthday, Mom. I'm going to do everything I can not to get emotional here, but I do. I cry during movies. Retirement has been great. I've learned that every day there is a Titanic movie on. Every hour, James Bond and Harry Potter. So, and I've become a Swiftie with Taylor Swift. You know, it's crazy. I knew that today was going to be special when I had a conversation with my 10-year-old granddaughter, Olivia. Olivia is missing a recital to be here today. And I offered her the opportunity to go to the recital today and not come to this ceremony. But from a 10-year-old, my granddaughter said to me, Grandpa, I wouldn't miss this for the world. This is a one-time thing. I can do recitals later. Olivia, thank you. That made me feel special. Thank you to Governor DeSantis and the Florida Cabinet for allowing me to be a part of this great group. Commissioner Glass, thank you. The FDLE for having this ceremony. It's an honor to be here. Chief Hudak, Chris Challenger, thank you for the work that you did to get me nominated into this special Hall of Fame. I know it took a lot. Again, congratulations to my fellow inductees. You guys, even though we never met, well, I knew South Miami Chief for many years before today, but I am, again, honored to be here. And like everybody else, Rebecca Baker, what a phenomenal job you did. Thank you so much. The phone calls of me calling, asking questions, you having the answers, it's been phenomenal. Thank you so much for everything you've done. I have a lot of friends and family here today. I have all of my children, Troy, Travis, and Tiffany, my 2 stepchildren, Matt and Casey. My 4 grandchildren are here. I have my mom and dad that are leaving with me to go on vacation after this to spend a week. They can't wait to do that. But I also have aunts and uncles that are here from other parts of the country, Biloxi, Mississippi, all the way down to Miami, other parts of the country. And I'm honored that all of you are here today. I have a lot, and I'm sad that I can't mention everybody's name because I'm afraid I'm going to leave somebody out. But my coworkers, you know, my question today is who's working the streets if all of you are here? It's an amazing thing. But I've been blessed to have a career where I loved what I did. There's 2 things in my life that I was able to do. One of them was to be a police officer, which was a dream since I was a little boy, but also to be a baseball player and a coach. There's nothing about my life today that I have any regrets about. I'm honored to be here. I was honored to be a coach and honored to be a father. My kids have grown up to be tremendous people. You know, like every family, there's bumps, ups and downs, but we're always been together. Along with that, there's some special people here today. My brother's wife, Lisa, is here today and has always remained a part of the family since 1997. My brother had two kids, a boy and a girl, Todd and Taylor, who didn't get the opportunity to meet and grow with their father. They were 2 years old when he died. And people ask me all the time, how did you do this job after something so tragic happened to your family? And I'll tell you how I did it. There's 2 people in this room today that never asked me to stop doing what I loved. And that was my mom and dad. 2 people that never said, we don't want you to do that anymore, it's too dangerous. They encouraged me to continue to be the person that I was. Other police officers would ask me all the time, how did you do this? Well, I can tell you how I did it, and I want to tell everybody a little story that I don't tell a lot of people. Before I was a police officer, I was a professional baseball player. I played at the University of Miami first. Are we allowed to say that, Chief, here? Because you're UM alumni too, we're okay. But I went on to play professional baseball, and then had an opportunity after leaving the Cincinnati Reds to go and play for the Minnesota Twins and be on the same team as my brother. There was a game here in Jacksonville, just west of here, where my brother was pitching. We stayed on the beach that night in Motel 6. That's where you stay when you're a minor league baseball player. But Robbie was on the mound that night. And my brother was known to be a little bit of a hothead on the mound. So then when somebody hit a home run off of him, you knew that probably the next pitch was going right above somebody's head. But on this day, it was weird. Robbie threw a pitch, and the guy hit it a good distance, probably 350, 360 feet. I was on the bench that day, and I wasn't going to play. He got a ball back from the umpire, and the next pitch that he threw went even farther, 370, 380 feet. And I sat there and went, oh, this is not going to go well. You waited to get the ball back from the umpire throws him a ball, he gets the ball, and he throws the next pitch, and I'll be damned if it didn't go 400 feet. And I said, oh, the next guy's going down. Well, I watched, and umpire gives my brother the ball, and the coach, I don't remember his name, walks out to the mound, and he asks for the ball. He goes like this. Normal procedures, when the coach asks you for the ball, you take the ball, you put it right in his hand. You don't flip it to him or anything. My brother pointed. Well, little did we know that after the umpire gave him that fourth ball, Robbie turned around and threw it 360 feet over the fence. So the coach turned around, walked back to the dugout, and then we said, what happened? He goes, well, there was no ball for me to take, so I couldn't take him out of the game, so I just let him throw another pitch. Well, things didn't work out great that night, because when we got on the bus, the one thing I said when we got on the bus, I said, don't say anything to him when he gets on the bus, and I'll be damned if somebody didn't have something to say. So it was an all-out fight on the bus. But when we got back to the hotel, I noticed that something was wrong with Robbie, and I offered to take him out to dinner. He didn't want to go. About 12:30 at night, Robbie got up and he says, I'm going to go for a walk on the beach. I said, well, let me go with you. He said, no. He said, I just want to spend some time alone. Robbie walked and he was gone for a while. I started worrying about him. About an hour and a half, he come back and he had this look in his face. And I said, what's the matter? And he says, I really don't know. And I said, listen, it's just a bad night. Don't worry about it. He says, no, something just happened. The way it was described to me was this. Robbie was walking down the beach. There was nobody on the beach, and when he got to a lifeguard stand, there was a little boy sitting on the lifeguard stand. My brother turned, looked at the boy, and a little boy looked at my brother and said, everything's going to be okay. My brother turned to see where his family was, and there was nobody there. But when he turned to look at the little boy was gone, and there were no footsteps in the sand. From that day, I always thought that that was my brother's guardian angel. And from that day, I didn't worry about the things that happen to police officers in the world. I knew that all of us somewhere in this world have a guardian angel. I pictured this every day, that when my brother was killed by a drunk driver, that the day that he got to heaven and he was at the gates, that little boy grabbed his hand and said, I told you everything's going to be okay. But another story is that, we never know when we're going to go. But my brother was at a funeral with a fellow trooper after another officer was killed. And while standing at attention, my brother leaned forward and leaned to the right, said to my friend who wanted to be here today, he said, you think this is a big funeral? Wait till you see mine. My brother's funeral was amazing. There was a man that stood on a street corner and watched the entire procession, which I think was about 4 miles long, stood and saluted my brother's procession all the way to that gravesite. So when you ask me, how did I do this job for as many years as I did? I give it the honor to my brother, the person that guided me through this and helped me make it through all the tragedy that I have seen in my life as a police officer and being a traffic homicide investigator and having to deal with the drunk drivers that I had to deal with for many years. I have no regrets about being a police officer. I love my job, but I loved where I worked and I loved the people that I worked with. I had some of the greatest supervisors that are here today, and I'm honored that all of you are here today to be a part of this great thing. To my wife, she has to listen to me a lot. As a baseball coach in high school, she was my one that I would go home every night, and she would have to listen to me complain about whether it was a win or a loss, somebody not doing their job, or coaching decisions that weren't very good. I have a lot of sayings as a coach. Some of them are, be better, try harder. I don't know is not an acceptable answer. But my greatest thing that I love to say is that be better today than you were yesterday. Be better tomorrow than you are today. And to my wife, I will tell you this: I love you more today than I did yesterday, and I love you more tomorrow than I do today. You're a great woman. When I played, I was gifted to play in the College World Series in 1982. In 1982, we won 5 games and we ended up winning a national championship. First national championship brought to the state of Florida and to the University of Miami baseball program. During that time, I was gifted to be the most valuable player. I didn't ask for that. I didn't know who voted on it, and at that time I had no idea. There was no plaque. There was no ring. There was no trophy. Nothing was given to me. 25 years later, there was a reunion of that team. And this is what I said in my reunion. I said there was no plaque, no trophy given to me when I was the most valuable player. I didn't ask for that. But this is what I told the baseball team about that plaque and trophy if I would have gotten it. There were a lot of guys on that baseball team that earned or could have been titled the most valuable player to College World Series. We had the famous Grand Illusion play, Phil Lane, who hit multiple home runs, Sam Sorsey, who made outstanding plays, Doug Shields was phenomenal, and unfortunately they weren't named the most valuable player. But if I had a trophy or if I had a plaque, I would have cut that plaque up in many, many pieces and given it to each one of them, because each one of them is an MVP to me. To the police department, to all my fellow friends that are here, supervisors, the chief of police, the FOP president, majors, sergeants, lieutenants, to my friends. Today I get a plaque. And if I had the opportunity to cut that plaque up into many, many pieces, I would cut it and I would get each one of you a piece of that, because this plaque is a representation of me, but is a representation of you. Because like Taylor Swift says in a song, there can be no me without you. I thank all of you for being here today. This is an honor. I am gifted to be here today. My high school baseball coach is here today, who ended my career, started my career in 1977 and ended it in the last game of 2023 when his team beat mine when I was a coach. What a circle we have had, Coach. Thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of this day.
Now, while everybody's making it back to their seats, I'm going to invite the Hall of Famers one more time up here for one group photo in front of all those here that came here to honor you. So if you would mind, give it just one more shot. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our ceremony, but just for one more time, if y'all wouldn't mind, let's give these Hall of Famers a standing ovation, thanking them and their families for all they've been able to do for criminal justice.